Namaskar and very good afternoon viewers. Dear learners, I, Dr. Renu Tomar, is going to talk about gender and education. This is part 3 of the series of lecture on gender and education. Friends, in our previous lectures, we have discussed what sex is, what sexuality is, what gender is. We went into the detail as to discuss what are the concepts of gender, sex and sexuality. We have also discussed gender bias, gender stereotyping and empowerment. We also discussed, apart from that, what polyandrous, matrilineal and matriarchal societies in India are and their relevance in the status of education. We talked about that why in the matriarchal societies, we gave the example of Kerala, and we discussed that because of the fact that we have matriarchal societies over there, the literacy rate is on the higher side. So, taking on, now today we are going to talk about some landmark from social reform movements. To continue on the same line, first of all, let us recap a bit so that you can connect with me, particularly those who have joined today and who were not with me in my last lectures. Let me recap what was done in the previous lecture. What is the difference between sex and the gender? As far as sex is concerned, that is biological, and as far as gender is concerned, that is the social norm. And as far as the gender bias is concerned, it exists due to the fact that society has a belief in the norm that there is some particular gender which is capable of doing only this work and the other gender is not. So that usually results in gender bias. And what is stereotyping? Gender stereotyping means that when we stereotype one kind of role to one particular gender, like we believe that as far as the household work is concerned, that is to be done by women only. We believe that as far as earning is concerned, that has to be done by the man only. So, that is due to the result of gender stereotyping. It is usually seen that the other gender is not able to perform to its best ability, and the result is that the social as well as the national development is hampered. So that is why in our country also legal rights have been provided to the women, but still, because of certain gender biases, because of gender stereotyping, those legal rights are not being implemented because of the fact that as far as even the gender is concerned, it is sociological, and because the sociological norms prohibits or inhibits the individual for utilizing those legal rights, that is why those legal rights are not implemented. Now, let us go back to what polyandrous societies are, as we discussed the example of Draupadi from the Mahabharata, in which one woman is married to 5 brothers. So, polyandrous means that the single woman is having 2 or more husbands at the same time. And historically also it is evident, and apart from that, in Indian society, we have certain tribes where polyandry is prevalent. We talked about Kinnaur region, which is there in the Himachal. We talked about why it is believed that the Kinnaur region has polyandry. It is believed that because of the Pandavas who were going over there and they left this particular concept of polyandry. The similarity is also observed in the Garhwali people. And polyandry is also seen in South India among the Todas tribe of Nilgiris. Even Nanjanads, Velala of Travancore and some Nair caste are also showing the polyandrous union. Apart from that, we also talked about matrilineal and matriarchal societies. Matrilineal societies are seen in the case of certain Khasi tribe, where the woman may be women as far as the political is concerned, as far as the state politics is concerned, women may be lacking their representation in the legislative council of that state, but still it is being observed that women of that tribe are completely in control of the domestic affairs, which are controlled by the women of the house. As far as the Khasi tribe is concerned, there the matrilineal law of inheritance is followed. That means the youngest daughter of the house stays with the parents, inherits the house and is named after her mother. And husband is expected to leave his house and live with his wife in his mother-in-law house. We also talked about Garo tribe, which is also matrilineal, because in Garo family it is headed by mother of the house, but father is responsible for providing sustenance. So this tribe is also, apart from this tribe, we also discussed the other tribes like Nair, where wife's clan is the one which is followed even in the matrilineal way. And we also talked about the matriarchal societies. In the matriarchal societies, we discussed that when the woman is head of the house, in those like in the Karnataka, where is Tuluva ethnic group is there, Bant community is there, Bilava community is there, due to the fact there is matrilineal descent, and apart from that there is matriarchal society, there the control is in the family of woman. Like we talked about Ali Santana, which is a sub-tribe, and it is based upon the legend that because in the case of this tribe, which is the Bilava community, and the descent, that is the matrilineal descent, the one who inherits everything is known as Aliya Santana. Aliya Santana means the person who is going to inherit everything, and that person is the nephew of the king. This comes from the story in which the king refused to sacrifice his own sons, but his daughter is ready to sacrifice, his sister is ready to sacrifice her son, and due to the fact that the demon decides neither to harm the family of the king and nor to harm the family of his sister, and the result is, because of the pardon which is offered, the nephew is the one who inherits everything from the king. And then when we talked about the Kerala, we talked about the subcaste in that, where the older female member is called Tharwad, and she is the one who share the same ancestor, and usually husband stays in the separate room or altogether different houses, but she is the one who controls, and the husbands have no responsibility towards their children, because woman is the one who is having the complete responsibility. When we talked about matrilineal matriarchal societies or the polyandrous societies, our aim was to discuss that as far as social stereotyping is concerned, it has changed as the societies have changed. And the education also changed accordingly, because the beliefs of the society changed, the norms of the society changed, and that is why the education system also changed accordingly. Now let us talk about how some social reform movements or social reformers have led to the present society, because we all of us know that even till the Britishers there were certain problem with our social network, problem in the sense that the women were being looked down upon, and in fact there were certain customs, or we can say there are certain institutions which cannot be termed as democratic, because they were hampering the liberty and the freedom of women. And the result was that some social reformers took up that cause, and they came ahead and got rid of those norms, or we can say those followings, those things which were in the society. For example, sati pratha, for example, child marriage. They were the social evils which were very much prevalent and were leading to lot of hampering of the freedom of the gender, that is the woman, as well as resulting in the woman not getting the kind of a independence or the liberty to be on their own, to be able to do to their completion, to their perfection. That was something was not being provided to the woman, and the result was that the woman was suffering. So certain social reformers came. They recognized that this restrictive and coercive nature of the social customs and institution, this was opposed by them, and these social reformers demanded democratization of social relations and removal of harmful practices on the basis of revival of Vedic society in modern India, which according to them was democratic. Friends, our society has gone lot of changes, and as all of us know that during the Vedic society, the women were provided lot of freedom, independence, to such an extent that we had women as teachers, we had women as doctors, we had women as almost in all the trades and doing very well. But as the society changed, the women were taken away their independence. So that was something stated by those reformers, and that group, they were the revivalists. Those revivalists were responsible for reviving what women should be having, because that was something women had during the Vedic period. These social reformers believed that the principle of individual liberty, freedom and equality of all human rights, irrespective of sex, color, race, caste or religion, should be taken care of. They attacked the number of traditional, authoritarian and hierarchical social institutions, and they launched social reform movements to liberate the Indian woman from those shackles. Though many of the reformers were mainly the men, the reform movement aimed at improving the status of Indian women. To give the example, and who is the most well-known name, is Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was the greatest social reformer of India. He was concerned about the number of evil customs and particularly about the Sati Pratha. Sati Pratha, which was called Sahamarna, that means as soon as the husband died, the woman was also burnt alive along with the husband. And that particular norm was called that the woman is Sati, means that she is a goddess, and that is why she is giving her life along with her husband, because she doesn't want to live after her husband. So that kind of a custom was something which Raja Ram Mohan Roy did not find appropriate, and he worked a lot as to get rid of this Sati Pratha. Apart from that, he also worked on female infanticide, polygamy and even infant marriage, because during those time even the child who was 6-year-old or 7-year-old was married, and the result was that the women were not getting any kind of an education. And when the women were being married at the age of 6 and 7 to the man who was 30 or 40, in fact it was being observed that the woman 6 and 7 was being married to the man who was he was more than the age of her father, who was almost her grandfather's age. And the result was that as soon as the woman was becoming young and she was gaining that age of 25 or 26, then the man used to expire, man used to die. And the result was that either woman has to take to sati, or they have to live the kind of a life which is not worth, because when they were living that kind of a life, they were not allowed any color, they were not allowed even to sleep on the bed, and that kind of abusive kind of a life, that was something which was questioned by Raja Ram Mohan Roy as to give his reform. And another important custom which he questioned was Devdasi system. In Devdasi system, that was nothing but exploitation of the woman, and Raja Ram Mohan Roy led a crusade against the evil and inhuman practice of sati, in which widow was forced to immolate herself on the funeral pyre of her husband, and he also questioned all other things. Another important social reformer which we should be talking about is Ishwar Chandra Vidya Sagar. Ishwar Chandra Vidya Sagar, he was also one of a great social reformer who sought to improve the condition of widows, because he said that widows' remarriage is something which is must. He took a pledge that he would himself allow his daughter to study and married all his daughter after they were 16 years of old. In fact, he took a pledge that in case the husband of one of her daughters die, then he will get that daughter also remarried. He also was also against the prevalent custom of polygamy, that is, one woman being married to many men. Then another social reformer whom we should be talking about is Justice Mahadev Govind Ranade. Ranade was instrumental in laying down the foundation of all Indian organizations to carry on the struggle of social reform. Even the Indian National Social Conference was organized by him, and this organization was the first national institution to carry on collectively in an organized way and on a national level the social reform movement. He took up the principally he took up the problem of widow remarriage and was also an active member of a society which worked for widow remarriages. In fact, Shankaracharya also was the one we should be talking about. Shankaracharya has excommunicated himself for attending the first widow remarriage in 1869. Rane worked towards educating women. So, despite the fact that these social reformers did get the kind of a negligence from the society and they were questioned for that kind of attitude, but still they kept on working in that direction. In fact, Rane and his wife started a school for girls in 1884. Then we should be talking about Maharishi Marashikarwe. He also showed great concern for the plight of widows and the problem of widow remarriage. He revived Widow Remarriage Association and started the Hindu Widows Home. Karve also made efforts to improve the educational level of girls as well as widows. So, from there on, what we can understand is that the social reformers, why the social reformers, first of all, let us try to understand why the social reformers were required or why social reform was required. Social reform was required because there were certain norms, there were certain problems with the society. There were certain customs which were very much prevalent in the society, and those customs were against the freedom of the woman. They were against the well-being of the woman. That is why these men came forward and they promoted that the woman should also be considered as a person, not as an object which she was being considered. And she should also have the kind of a right which any human being deserves. Right to education, right to liberty, right to be happy, and right to live their life as they want. And they also not just questioned the society, but they also tried in their own way as to revive different kind of reform movements, so that the rules were passed by the government at that time against the sati pratha, against the child marriage, and slowly and steadily, after those legal things were through, then the social acceptance also came, and now currently we neither view the child marriage, that is something prevalent in very few tribal societies, or we can say the societies which are very much away from the education. And in those societies we might have child marriage, and we also have the sati pratha also almost abolished, and legally it is illegal. Even the child marriage is illegal. Abortion, because there is a child in the womb of the woman, that is also illegal. So these rules have been passed because of the fact that there were certain reforms which were carried on by certain people in the society, and because that was a patriarchal society and the men had most of the power, because men spoke, men came for the women, and the result was that they were able to get certain norms, laws approved, as well as change certain people socially, getting them on the acceptance level as far as these customs were concerned. And they quite many people could understand the fact that these customs are against the social development, individual development, as well as national development. Now let us talk about what kind of gender related theories we have. As far as gender related theories is, the first theory which we will be talking about is gender socialization theory. Gender socialization theory means that the male and the female youth inhabit different social worlds. That means the female youth express her gender through the attitude which is different from the male youth attitude. And why is it so? Because this may be because of the gender restriction to her independence, which may be due to the fact there is gender discriminatory practices within their household. So the result is the socialization of the man and the woman results in gender socialization, and the woman taking and believing to certain norms believing to certain we can say fate, and not going against what is prevalent in the society, because usually because of the gender socialization there are certain prevalent norms. Prevalent norms can be in the form of a dress which men and women wear. Prevalent norms can be in the form of education which is being provided to men and women. The discrepancy, or we can say the gender bias as far as providing the education to the girl and boy is concerned. The prevalent norms, or we can say the socialization of gender. The gender socialization also makes out the fact that this goal of ameliorating gender inequality and empowering women is well recognized as a critical tool for advancing population health, improving life chances, and bringing economic prosperity to the low as well as the middle income countries. And for this it is required that this gender socialization theory is object to the fact that the goals which are not being provided due to gender inequality, they are also provided to the woman, and accordingly the women, the young girls, are changing themselves. Not just the changes in the institutional structure but also individual behavior. That is what gender socialization theory aims at, that we require both institutional structural change as well as individual behavior change. And as far as the gender norm are concerned, they are deemed acceptable for as far as the sexes are concerned based upon the fact that how they are prevalent in the society. So they have to be steadily changed, because world as far as concerned is changing as far as the prevalent norms are concerned, and we should be creating the different norms for the women, so that, and the men should be understanding that there is change of norms and that norm should be acceptable to both the genders. Those restrictions should be condoned by political as well as the legal systems, and women and girls should be becoming more powerful as to protect themselves from the harm, and they should be understanding that the health means both physical health as well as the mental health is very important, and they should be attending to their health. So gender socialization occurs due to the fact that the gender appropriate behavior is imposed on both the gender, and the result is that we have the lesser literacy rate, we have the health issue, we have the atrocities which are being done by the husbands or fathers or the brothers, including rape and the beating of the girls. So that is due to the fact that gender socialization is something which is going in a wrong direction. So if we study the gender from the educational perspective, if we study from the gender socialization theory, then we understand that the male and female perspective needs to be changed, the behavior needs to be changed, and to change the behavior of young male and young female, it is very much important that the social expectation from the gender change. It is changing. Now we can see if we go back in 50 years back, what kind of role was expected of the woman? Women were only expected to do the domestic chores, or do the farm work, or just do some traditional work like teacher or medico, that is nursing and all. But now we see that we want our girls to become engineer, we want our girls to become pilots, we want our girls also to go to the armed forces. So why this kind of a change has concerned? This change has concerned due to the fact that the socially it is being worked upon by nation at large. Nation is working in this direction, the legal system is working in this direction, the legislative system is working in this direction, and the result is the demarcation between the sexes is becoming lesser and lesser, and the social sanctions are becoming comparatively weaker. That sex typical task which was associated with that is becoming weakening. So what we understand from gender socialization theory is that gender socialization theory states that gender socialization is very much present and it is very much effective in the society. But we need to change the perspective. If we really want to change the perspective, then we will have to work upon the the socialization process, we will have to work upon the behavioral perspective, we will have to work upon the legal perspective. Accordingly only the things can change. So friends, on this note I will take your leave, and I, Dr. Rane Tomar, shall be joining you again as to discuss another theory of that is structural theory, as to understand that what gender is and what kind of how the gender has to be understood from the perspective of education. So friends, namaskar, very good afternoon, have a good day.